Good morning. This week we are doing Unit 1, Week 1. Our theme is Meeting a Need. The three stories you will read are A Fresh Idea, One Hen, Banks and Their Business, and Yours. The study skills you'll learn this week are genre is going to be realistic fiction. Our comprehension skill is story elements. Our comprehension strategy is reread. And our vocabulary strategy is context clues. You will be able to build background knowledge on meeting needs, recognize the characteristics and text features of realistic fiction, listen for a purpose, and pronounce and define weekly reading vocabulary words. Our essential question this week is how do we meet the things we need? Listen to the video that this week has.
Meeting a need. How do we get the things we need? All over the world, people share basic needs. What are needs that you have each day? How are they met? All of us share the need for food. Many foods we eat are grown on farms or even in your own garden. Another basic need people have is clothing. Where does it come from? Cotton, wool, and other fibers can be woven and made into clothing and blankets that protect us and keep us warm. Water for drinking and washing is also a basic need. Pumps and other devices help people extract fresh water from the ground. We all need food, clothing, water. How do you get the things you need?
So, this picture of this woman, she is about to harvest or gather rice. She may share what she collects with her community. So, growing and harvesting plants is one way to meet our need for food. Raising livestock and hunting are another. People also need water to survive. So, some people collect water from wells, others get it from rivers, lakes, or streams. Listen to What Do We Need?
What do we need? From the time we get up in the morning to the time we go to sleep at night, we need things to help us survive. We meet these needs in a variety of ways. Finding water, building shelter, and weaving clothes are some ways we meet our needs. This woman is meeting a need by harvesting rice, a food upon which millions of people depend.
Our genre is realistic fiction. So some elements of realistic fiction, it tells about everyday events that could happen in real life. It prevents true to life characters and it includes dialogue and descriptive details. Our strategy is reread. So good readers can read the text again or reread to better understand. So when you read something and you don't know the main idea or what you just read, you might have to reread. So rereading can also help remember important ideas or vivid details to capture the setting or character's personality. Our vocabulary words this week are afford, loan, profit, prosper, risk, savings, scarce, and wages. When we are done with this YouTube video, you will go in your interactive vocab notebook and type out the word in the definition. So the first word is afford. Afford means to have enough money to pay for something. The book uses afford in a sentence as Jill looked at the price tag to see if she could afford to buy the blouse. Loan is money borrowed. The sentence, Lynn asked her mom for a loan of $5. Profit, the amount of money left after all business costs have been paid. Jem and Anna set up a lemonade stand and made a profit of $5 from the sales. Prosper, to do well and become successful. When enough rain falls and the weather is good, a garden can prosper. Risk, the chance of loss or harm. Firefighters take a great risk when they enter a burning building. Savings, money set aside for the future. Ray sets aside $1 a week from his allowance and puts it in his savings. Scarce, something difficult to get or find. Water can become scarce after many hot weeks with no rain. Wages, payments received for work done. So Sam and his brother earned wages for raking leaves every autumn. Additional words to know. Ominous means threatening. Torrential is heavy. Passive, inactive. Sympathy is being understanding, and bewildering is confusing. So we are going to read a fresh idea.
One bright Saturday morning, Molly and her mom walked around the neighborhood. That is, her mom walked, but Molly ran, skipped, jumped over puddles, and visited the neighbors' dogs. Molly paused to look at the budding trees on her block. "I can't wait until summer," she said, "especially for Mrs. Fair's great tomatoes at her market stand." She pointed. Molly's mom stood looking at the empty lot where the market set up every summer weekend. She looked at Molly. "Honey, Mrs. Fair told me last week that she had to close her stand. She's really getting too old to run it anymore." Molly turned, stared, and put her hands on her hips. "But Mrs. Fair's stand can't close," she said. "It's the only place in the neighborhood we can buy fresh, delicious tomatoes." Then she added, to show she wasn't being selfish, "Everyone needs fruits and vegetables for a healthy diet." After they got home, Molly headed out to her backyard swing to think. "If only I could plant a garden," she thought, "but our yard is way too small." Just then, she noticed her neighbor, Mr. Taylor, looking at his daffodils. Molly knew he was thinking about how he had planted those flowers with his wife. This was the first spring since his wife had died, and Molly saw the sadness on his face. Then she had an idea. Molly cleared her throat, and Mr. Taylor looked up. Molly decided to walk over to the fence. "Hi, Mr. Taylor," she said. He waved and turned away. "Wait!" Molly cried. Taking a risk while she still felt brave, she rushed to gather her thoughts. "Mr. Taylor, Mrs. Fair isn't doing her tomato stand anymore because she's getting old, so I'd like to grow tomatoes. I don't want to get in the way of your flowers, though. I really like tomatoes." Suddenly, Mr. Taylor smiled. "Molly, I'm not sure what you're talking about, but you've made me smile. Reasons to smile have been scarce lately. What do you want to do?" As Mr. Taylor listened, an idea came to him. "I still need a place to plant my flowers, but there's room for tomatoes. How about I make you a loan? I'll let you use a plot of land in my yard. I'll help you, and when your garden starts to prosper, you can repay me with a few tomatoes." Molly and Mr. Taylor shook hands on this deal. "But first," Mr. Taylor said, "you'll have to make an investment by buying some tomato plants at the nursery." Molly thought, "Well, I have some savings from my allowance, and I was saving to buy a computer game." She paused. "But I'd rather have tomatoes, so let's start right away." The next day, Molly bought all the tomato plants she could afford. Mr. Taylor taught Molly how to prepare the soil and place the plants. Finally, Molly placed stakes in the ground to help hold the plants up. Mr. Taylor explained, once the tomatoes come, the heavy fruit makes the branches bend. Then all they could do was water, pull weeds, and wait. When the fruit ripened, there were more juicy red tomatoes than even Molly could have imagined. There is no way I can eat all these, she realized. On Saturday, Molly and Mr. Taylor carried several crates of ripe tomatoes to the market, and by the day's end, they had sold them all. Not only did I get back the money I invested, said Molly, but I also made a profit of $20. Mr. Taylor said, those are also your wages. You've earned that money. Molly beamed and said, Mr. Taylor, maybe you could sell some of your flowers and we could run a market stand together. Mr. Taylor, picturing a garden of zinnias and marigolds, was already looking forward to next summer.
So what you will find in your Google Classroom is this assignment, a fresh idea. You'll need to go back in the story, which will also be in your Google Classroom, and answer these questions and submit it. You will also find your packet in your Google Classroom. Your packet is going to be this. You'll need to use each pair of vocabulary words in a single sentence. So you'll need to use afford and loan. An example of a sentence for this would be, I don't know if I can afford to get a loan. You won't have to do this page. This, you'll have to read the story on your own and then answer the questions. I also want you to record yourself reading this first page and send me the recording. You can do that through your webcam on your computer. So today, I just want you to do this first page, the vocabulary, and then throughout the week, you'll do the rest. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to email me and we can do a Zoom or I can help you through email.